Carson Wentz was traded to the Indianapolis Colts. And look, man, this was some really big news. I think this is going to be a crazy offseason. I think it's going to be a wild free agency. I think it'll be a lot of players that end up being traded and swapping teams and things like that. Guys getting cut, released that can get picked up on 1-year deals, prove-it deals, or maybe short-term contracts or whatever. But this has been like a rumor situation, right? With Carson Wentz leaving Philadelphia after they drafted Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts put a lot of good stuff on film. That's what I say. He put a lot of good stuff on film. He played very well down the stretch of the season when he finally got a chance to play. And I think if the Eagles would have played Jalen Hurts sooner, he may have been able to sort of like save their season a little bit and give them a better chance at winning that division. Instead, they rocked out with Carson Wentz, and then they did some other stuff, and then it was like kind of put him in there, and then they took him out in the last game, and it was like they should have just really just let him do him. And everybody was speculating what they're going to do with Carson Wentz. They finally got rid of Wentz, trading him to the Colts. Wentz is now teaming up or now rejoined with his the coach for the Eagles when Wentz was most successful, right? Frank Reich or Rick, I think it's Frank Reich. He was the guy who coached the Eagles to that championship that year. Even though Wentz didn't start in the Super Bowl, he didn't even play any of the playoff games. It was Nick Foles. They still had that relationship, and I think, Frank Reich, he saw enough and he knew enough about what Wentz's abilities that he said, look, we're going to go get this guy. We already knew that we didn't really believe in Jacoby Brissett, or we didn't really like Jacoby Brissett for whatever reason, even though I thought he did a pretty good job like when his number was called. And Phillip Rivers is retired, you know what I'm saying? They already knew that was pretty much a 1-year thing anyways. Let's go out and get a young guy who we think has all the tools. And I will say this, I do think Carson Wentz has all the tools. I was not necessarily a Carson Wentz believer, and I still don't think they should have paid him that money. But I will say this, when the Eagles played the Packers back in 2018, and they narrowly lost that game, the Packers did, to the Eagles. That was the game Devontae Adams went out like in the third quarter, in the second quarter, something like that. But Wentz showed me that he had all the tools to be a top flight, top tier, top 5, top 10 quarterback in this league, man. He can make all the different kinds of throws, short game, intermediate game, long, deep throws. Like, I'm gonna be interested to see how things play out with Carson Wentz in Indianapolis, man. I'm not really, like I said, I'm not really sold on this dude being, from what he showed so far. He's been injured a lot, hasn't really finished the season. He did have that 1 year where he was kind of coming on strong as a potential MVP candidate early on, but we know how that happens. Last year, we had a couple of MVP candidates that at the end of the season were nowhere to be found in the MVP race. So just having an MVP start to a season doesn't necessarily mean you're going to end up at an MVP, playing at an MVP level, but not many guys can say. There's only probably like a handful of guys, maybe 10, 11 guys. I don't even say 10, 11. There's probably only like maybe 6 or 7 guys in the NFL that you could even say belong in that conversation of a guy, or could even put themselves in that MVP conversation at the quarterback position. So that in itself is impressive, but we all know, like I've been saying about Aaron Rodgers, having talent and skill is one thing, but actually getting it done, winning games, winning championships, playing clutch in the big moments, like that's a whole different thing. But the thing that was most interesting to me about the whole situation is that the Eagles drafted Wentz in the first round in the draft, whenever that was, 2018, some shit like that, a couple years ago. They since have paid him a boatload of money. He has a very lucrative contract. And they traded him to the Colts for a 2021 third round pick and a conditional 2022 pick. So they only traded this dude for 2 picks. The Colts only had to give up 2 draft selections to get Wentz. And one of those was a third rounder for this year. And the second one was a conditional pick. That makes no sense to me. He was the second overall pick in the 2016 draft. So at the best, you get a first and a third. At the worst, you got 2/3 for a guy that went number 2 overall in the 2016 draft. Your general manager fucked up. You know what I'm saying? Like, basically, your general manager fucked up. Like, That was stupid. If you're the Eagles, right? Your general manager fucked that up. You made one bad decision after another. And now, because I guess you could say the one good decision he made was to draft Jalen Hurts, but I mean, that already was like only because you only made that good decision because you already made these other bad decisions. So you don't really get that much credit for that. And plus, we have to see if Jalen Hurts can actually pan out. I think that he could, but it's still TBD, to be determined. And Nerve says the Eagles are actually dumb. Yeah, the Eagles actually are pretty dumb. They actually are pretty dumb.
Puda, you the GOAT, boy.